The interesting thing about failing in a startup is that, especially now, companies love that entrepreneurial spirit. Companies that want to hire are like, oh, you've got startup experience. Like, you've had to wear all the hats. You've done this before. So even if you fail and you have to like go back to a 9 to 5, you get a lot more respect now than you probably did, a decade ago.
Hello, everyone, and welcome again to the LowCode Podcast. Today we have Chad Sakanchik. He is the founder of BetterLegal, and we are very excited to have him here because he went through a very unique process of building a company and software using no-code and low-code tools, and then moving to traditional code, and then he came back to no-code and low-code. So I'm excited to learn more about that process. Chad, thanks
I'm
for
like
joining
Anakin.
today.
I went to the dark side. Now I'm coming back.
Right, exactly. That's the way thing. Developers don't agree with that, though. So tell us a little bit more about your background. What did you study? What did you major in college? Your experience before getting to this business?
So I actually studied film in college.
Okay, interesting.
But that was, 20 years ago. And I've always wanted to do entrepreneurship and startups. But, back in 2003, when I graduated, it just wasn't, we didn't have the tools. They didn't have the support system. When I built my first company, I had to co-locate a server in a place,
Right.
Then AWS flipped it upside down, made it so where, you could do AWS. However, now you need someone who's an AWS expert, and AWS is its own just nightmare of complexity. And if you don't
have like dozens, if not hundreds of products, right?
Well, yeah. And if you don't have your security settings, like we thought we had everything, buttoned up, and someone hacked into their system and spun up instances under our account and ran up $50,000 about a year ago. And we're still working with Amazon to try to, get a refund or whatever. So yeah, that complexity. And, with AWS, for example, we would spend $800 with $1,000 every single month, like clockwork, for 4+ years. Okay. And then it just was like $30,000, $50,000. Just like, it was just like we were spending $1,000 a day instead of $1,000 a month. And nobody, like, the way they have it set up is that, like, the onus is on you. They don't have any algorithms or anything that says, like, hey, you're going this. There was no email. There was no email, no phone call, no text message. It said, like, hey, just FYI, do you know that you're spending what you normally spend in a month in a single day, every day, this whole week? So, but then there's Heroku, but then, Heroku got bought by Salesforce. And so there's been, we've been kind of chugging towards this. No code is really just a fancy term for WYSIWYG, I used to build stuff, build pretty cool websites back in the day with a site called P Machine that became Expression Engine. We had Dreamweaver. But then there was just this kind of gap where everybody custom coded everything. And then, so only in the last, I know Bubble's been around for a while, and I've had people tell me about Bubble for a couple of years, and I never gave it a real shot because it looked too complicated.
Okay.
And because of Build Sell 30, I decided to kind of really give it a shot. And, once I had once I dedicated 10 hours to it, that was it. So anyway, going back, so I tried to do a startup back in 2005. I tried to, like, build a website builder because
right after college, you started your entrepreneurship life. You didn't get a job.
No, I did get a job at Dell.
Okay.
I worked at Dell for a year, and then I quit, and I did like excavation and septic tank installation and management for my dad's buddy. I did manual labor while I lived with my parents and tried to build my first startup, where you had to co-locate. I used a site called rentacoder.com, which is now Upwork. It kind of got bought up. So it was so early back in the day that I was like 25 years old and I was using Rent-A-Coder and I was like one of their quotes on their website. It's like 25-year-old Chad Sakonchik. Um,
Yeah.
and so it didn't really work out because I got too complicated. I focused too much on features and not enough on marketing.
Right.
Um, and then I went and worked for an integration company. And integration has now been repopularized as automation. So like
Okay.
nobody uses the term integration anymore. They use the term
Right.
automation. And Zapier popularized the term automation.
Right.
So I worked for an integration company for 7 or 8 years between the ages of like 27 to 35 or 30, 33, 34. Um, and I got laid off because we got bought out by a bigger company, and we were in a skunkworks group. They cleaned house, and so I was like, I'm gonna do this now. I sold my house. I had money in the bank, and I was like, I'm gonna live on this until I do something.
Make it.
Tried
Right.
to do a startup called spacesift.com. It's still up. I haven't really taken it down. It was supposed to be like Airbnb for event management
Okay.
or event spaces. And I followed down that road for a while and trying to do, marketing, freelancing, automation, freelancing, things like that.
But for
And
these two companies that you started and things didn't work out, how did you know when to stop?
so with the web design company, it was just, after a couple of years, I had 8 customers paying
Okay.
$35 a month. It just
Right.
didn't
Okay.
work. A friend of mine, the interesting thing about failing in a startup is that, especially now, companies love that entrepreneurial spirit. Companies that want to hire are like, oh, you've got startup experience. Like you've had to wear all the hats. You've done this
Hmm.
before. So even if you fail and you have to like go back to a 9 to 5, you get a lot more respect now than you probably did, a decade
That is
ago.
true. Yeah. Yeah.
Because you've got this like hands-on, self-taught, resourceful experience that companies, desire. So that was that one, and then Space Sift. It was really because I was doing Space Sift and BetterLegal at the same time. I really spent 2 years on
Okay.
Space Sift, and it was starting to get a little traction. Um, but BetterLegal was like, it just was. Space Sift required so much like boots on the ground, talking to bars and restaurants, and talking to non-technical people, and trying to explain this problem that I was
Okay.
solving to them. And
Okay.
even though the problem was very evident, they just still didn't care.
Right.
So they didn't think there was anything wrong. So it was like talking to a
Okay.
wall.
Do you think that has changed though? Like after COVID and in 2022, are they not only more aware of the problem, but are they willing to spend money on that or not? Not even now.
So the problem that I specifically solved, first, I started with event space management, where it was like book a space. I scraped all this information. I reached out to everybody individually, got PDFs on like, if they had information on like what their, capacity was.
Hmm.
I reached out to the fire marshal in Austin and did all this stuff. Like I basically curated all this
Oh,
data.
okay.
Um, but then it was like, how do you monetize that? You
Right.
know, I, I figured out that I needed to get the booking information. How do you get the booking information? No bar or restaurant wants to tell you when they're available. Even if you go on like Open Table today, you can't see a calendar. You can't be like, let me see what's available and let me peruse, because they don't want to show you that
Right.
they don't want to show you their
Empty.
availability.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Because what
Right.
happens a lot of times is that these types of businesses specifically are busy on the fringes. So like the Thursday,
Yeah.
Friday, Saturday is when they're packed. And then you just see all of this like availability in the middle of the week, and people just
Hmm.
have this assumption that like, oh, maybe they're not popular or
Right.
whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so that was a common thing. Nobody wanted to share their calendar. They wanted it to be like,
Yeah.
when do you want
Mhm.
uh, to have an event, and we'll tell you if it's available or not.
Right.
And so what I migrated to was building a system that I called Concierge that used Zapier and Google Calendar, um, it was when multi-step Zaps first came out and Code Steps first came out. I built this like crazy system that I would like tap into the owner's calculator, Google Calendar, and I put a form on their website that said like, when do you want, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 7 p.m., whatever. I take that and I do a Google search and I'd see if there's an existing availability. And if it was available, I'd say, yes, we are available. Here's all the
Okay.
information. It would be an automated email. If there was something already booked, it would look for that same time, the day before and the day after, the week before and the week after. Because a
Oh,
buddy of mine
okay.
that's in the industry told me people are usually flexible. If you can't get the exact time and they're really on a specific, they want a place, they'll be a little flexible because they might
Okay.
want to do it on a Friday or they want to do it that weekend. And so they're a little bit flexible. So I then did a search for the day after, the day before, the day after, the week before, the week after. And then I said, hey, we're not available on this day. It was an automated email. We're not available on this day, but here are the dates that we are available. And so this
Okay.
automation would run and get an email back to people within 15 minutes. And so, what a lot of people do when they're looking for event spaces, they go out and they reach out to a bunch of people. They send emails, they leave voicemails, and a lot of these places just don't get back to you. If you call
Right.
a bar or restaurant today, to like, still they just don't answer the phone. A lot of them don't
Hmm.
have phone numbers. So unless it's a nice restaurant that's got a hostess stand,
Right.
they just don't have a
Yeah,
phone
because
line and
whoever
don't
will
answer the
answer the
phone.
phone has no idea about availability for next week for
Right.
an event.
So I built this system and it was working really, really well. And it was doing exactly what I advertised.
Okay.
People were winning business. Um, but then, like, the turnover is so high in those places, I get an email from someone say, like, hey, what is this $99 a month charge?
Yeah.
And I have to resell the people that I
Right.
already sold to.
Okay.
So that's when like I was also split time and I was working on BetterLegal. And so my buddy is an attorney. He was losing business as a sole practitioner, and a great way to get new business is to set up LLCs or corporations for people. Because
Hmm.
if you're an attorney and you set up a business for somebody, who are they going to call when there's an issue or they need a contract? They're going to call you back. So
Right.
he was
So you don't
trying.
make a lot of money for setting up the LLC, but you make it like the profit is down the road.
Well, yeah. So here's the thing, though, is like he was still charging his hourly rate of $300 an hour to set up an LLC. So
Okay.
people would call.
Okay.
He got listed on companies like Avo, Up Counsel, those kind of like lawyer websites, those
Hmm.
lawyer Craigslist type sites, and people would reach out to him and say like, hey, how much for an LLC? And he'd say $1,500. Because the state of Texas filing fee is $300, and then he was charging $1,200 because he estimated 4 hours of his time
Okay.
at $300 an hour. And people were like, whoa, like, it's just me. I'm just doing like a painting company. Why $1,500? Like, I'll just go to LegalZoom. They'll charge me 700.
Right. Right.
Um, so he was losing all of this business. And I was like, well, why does it take you so long? And he's like, well, I developed a custom agreement for them and da 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 da. And I'm like, dude, most people don't know any of the stuff that you're going to ask them when they are first
Yeah.
starting the business, unless they're like a professional and they're like doing an investment and they know exactly who the partners are and blah, 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 blah. Most people that are just starting just kind of like fall into it and they just want to protect themselves. So I said, just create a generic boilerplate
Right.
agreement because you can change the agreements later, right? And he was like, yeah. So I was
Hmm.
like, give him
Right.
a boilerplate agreement. I'll set up some software for you to where like we'll ask the questions a certain way in a form, and then I'll pump it out into the 40-page document that you've got, so you don't have to go through. Because a lot of the times, like he's charging $300 an hour, and a lot of that time is just him in Microsoft Word going to like the
Hmm.
highlighted
Hmm.
areas and changing the information.
Adding
He is
names and
charging
dates and
three hundred
right.
dollars an hour for filling out a form on your behalf. So what I did was I was like, hey, charge $299, and
Okay.
we made this agreement where it's like, okay, charge $299 for each one, and then we'll just split it. So you get half and I get half.
Okay. Everything
Um,
automated. Like the
Everything
client would
automated.
fill in their details, and then that'll
Yep.
like
Yep.
fill
And
in
so he did his
the
first one, and
document.
he was like, all right, time me. I'm going to do the filing and everything.
Okay.
And I was like, all right, you're done. 9 minutes and 23 seconds. And he's like, oh my God, I'm going to make more money per minute
So
than I
from
would
four
by,
hours to 9 minutes.
yes.
Okay.
And so, because like, again, the state filing is a form. What any state you go to, except for Maine, is still a paper document. You have to physically hand sign it and mail it to Maine.
Okay.
Some of the states are still backwards like that, but most states have an online form. But a lot of the reasons why people hire us, the most valuable thing that we provide is the legal document. So where are you going to get the legal document that you're going to grow your business with? Like, yes, you can download a one-page operating agreement from a free website or whatever, but like you should really have a robust agreement that has been honed over decades and decades, and that says like if you get new, because if you have a one-page agreement and then you get three new investors and their partners, you don't have any dispute resolution kind of stuff built
Right.
into your
Okay.
contract. So you need
Okay.
a robust agreement that can grow with your business. And so we
Right.
provide that, whether you're a one-person company or a 10-person company. But then we do the filing for you. And the reason that the filing is important is because if you set it up wrong and you put the information in wrong, that information is now public on the state's website, and people can get the wrong idea of who owns the company or whatever. I had a guy in Georgia call me and say that he just moved states. He moved his trucking company from this state to that state, and the bank told him that he had his secretary fill out the state filing for him. And he went to the bank, and the bank was like, well, you don't own the company. Your secretary does.
Oh.
I don't even know how that happened, because that shouldn't, based on that
Right.
information.
Right.
But like the bank was very adamant about this. And so
Okay.
it's just kind of like you pay, it's like it's $2.99, and we'll make sure you get your state filing, your EIN, and
Peace of mind.
your legal
Right. For
documents.
$300.
Yeah. And, compare us to like Stripe Atlas. Stripe Atlas is only in Delaware. So you have to
Correct.
file in Delaware. Which isn't the best for most people, actually. And so we file in the state. We're cheaper than like Stripe Atlas. We provide all the same stuff.
You file in any state.
We file in every state.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. But then we also support you if you got to make changes. So like if you got to make a name change. In Florida, if you want to make a name change or an address change, you have to write a physical check for $25 and mail it to the state of Florida. And so what we've done over time is built these automations. So at first it was this cobbled together automation where it was just to help him. So he was still manually filing the state LLCs
Mm-hmm.
and the EINs. Over time, we hired contractors to build systems that actually do the filing themselves.
Okay.
So
Okay.
now in our most volume states, customers, the filings don't ever get touched by a human. We
Wow.
take the
Okay.
information, we validate that it's correct before we file it, and then it gets fired off. It gets filed with the state, filed with the federal government, and the legal document is generated, and it gets sent to the customer automatically. So a state like Texas takes 2 days. It's still going to take 2 days.
Right.
But in New York, we actually can get it to the customer in under an hour. So if they order, they get their documents in under an hour. Whereas you've got LegalZoom, who is a $2.6 billion company that makes $500 million a year, and their default price is like, it costs like $150 or $200, but you get it in 30 business days, no matter what state you order from.
Wow.
So
Okay.
30 business days isn't even 30 calendar days.
Right. Exactly.
It's like
It's a month and a half.
a month and a half. But then you can pay an extra $150 or $200 to get it in 15 business days, or $250 to get it in 7 business days. Yeah. But none of their most expensive pricing still gets to our turnaround time. And the vast majority of this is because of automation, because we've automated the things that are high volume and redundant. So like states like Texas, California, Florida, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Wyoming, like these states are these like 7 states are like 50 or 60% of all of our business.
Okay.
And so those get automated and put through the system, and we deliver to our customers as fast as humanly possible. If there's anything wrong, we can white glove help and talk to the customer
Right.
and work with them, because we are saving money on not having to have, like, LegalZoom has rooms and rooms and rooms of people that are just hand filing,
Right.
and then
Right.
and then you've got human error. Like
Yeah.
what happens when someone types in the wrong information, or they copy and paste it in the wrong thing? So, use humans for what humans are good at, and use automation for what humans are not good at.
Yeah. Use bots for repetition and then use humans for thinking. And then when it's a repetitive process, a bot can do it. Now, something that's quite interesting. So something that comes up very often at the podcast is when we're speaking with founders, they build an app, build a company around their app or something. They get the MVP or the first version of the app, and one of the most challenging things for them, for everyone, is getting their first clients or their first users, right? How did you handle that at the company?
So, and this is the reason why I moved away from SpaceSift and started focusing mainly on BetterLegal is, I was having to like hunt people down and go through friends of friends to like meet people for SpaceSift. With BetterLegal, we took the money that he made over a year. So we didn't even start the company for a year. It was just his own clients. Whenever someone reached out to him,
Okay.
he'd say, "Yeah, it's $299, it's $299, it's $299." So that
Okay.
first year, he did 50 LLCs through himself. And so what we agreed upon at the beginning was that he would keep half of it, and the other half would go towards this future company of ours. And so
Okay.
we had, $9,000 or $10,000 to spend. And so we got those first customers because he already had the demand. He
Right.
already had
Okay.
people, and we were helping him, and we made an agreement that like he would get half, and then this future company that we co-own would get half.
Yeah. Why did
And so
he get so many clients? Does he has a good online presence or just referrals?
no,
Is
because
he well
people,
known?
so because he had those online listings like Avo, Up Counsel. So when people
Yeah.
are looking
Okay.
to start a company, they're either looking for a lawyer to do it, a local attorney, or they look at LegalZoom and they compare and contrast. And so
Right.
people were finding him on this like Craigslist type site called Avo or Up Counsel, and there were several of them. And so he had a directory listing on all of these sites. And so they'd reach out and say how much. Originally,
Okay.
he would say it's $1,500, and he was losing business.
Right.
Then he would
Okay.
say it's $599, and
And
that
he won
includes the state
everything.
filing
Right.
fee, and he just got business left and right.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Okay.
and so we took that like $10,000, and I threw together a site via like a Jekyll site, um, and then spent $1,200 on Google Ads. Took
Okay.
some of that money, spent $1,200 on Google Ads, and got 2 customers for that $1,200. So we made 50% of our money back, and we were like, wow, okay, that's what, with no optimization, no anything, like we're not
Right. Just throwing the
profitable,
ads out there. Right.
but that's just like, so early on we were profitable in Texas very, very quickly.
Okay.
We just happen to live in the state, one of the top three most, business friendly states and
Mm-hmm.
populous states in the country. So that was just good luck
Right.
on our part.
Right.
Um, so we're very we were very successful in Texas very, very early on. In Texas is still our number one state that we get business
Okay.
from. And then it was just kind of like picking what is the next state, what's the next state, and then just growing the Google ads organically. So at first it was like we did 12 a month, and then it was 30, and then it was 50, and then it was like 80, and then it was like 97, and then it was like 96, and we couldn't break that 100, a month, and then it was 100,
Okay.
and it was like 100, 150, 200, 300. But then when we hit like that 300, we were losing. We had taken friends and family, and we'd taken some more money from angel investors, but we were losing $150 per business, per formation. But we had built in some
Because of the ad spend.
subscriptions on the ad spend. Yeah. So
Right.
every
Okay.
every company that came in and paid us $299, we also lost $150. So it
Is that
cost.
because the cost per click went up?
No, that was just because we were trying to grow too fast. We just didn't like, we didn't have the right Google AdWords person. We didn't
Okay.
understand Google AdWords as good. and even so, over the last couple of years, we've struggled and struggled and struggled because we've stuck with Google AdWords as our main and number one marketing channel. We had,
Okay.
Facebook as our secondary channel, but just as a retargeting channel for a while. And so like in 2021, we actually like took off and we had a great year. We did $2.5 million in business, and we had 1 month where we did 500 LLCs in a month.
Wow. Okay.
And then we just had a long, slow decline towards the end of the year. We moved marketing from an agency to some contractors that I found, and they've been killing it. And it's like for us, like it was Google Ads and Facebook working together, but also we had finally found some partners, some YouTubers that, we had this affiliate code. So it costs $2.99 to file with us. But really, because like during our entire growth period, we gave all that money back to Google. So we were really trying to grow that subscription revenue. So right now we've got, we're almost at 50,000 MRR.
And what is the product? What is the product that's a subscription?
There's two. There's and they're state required things. So every state requires that you have an in-state physical address that they can send mail and a constable to deliver a lawsuit.
Correct.
So you can't have a PO box. If you're in California and you own a property in Texas, you can't use a California address because they can't send a Texas constable out to California. So you have to have an in-state address. But it's also in different states, your information's public. So if you're a landlord, you don't necessarily want your tenant to know where you live. If they get disgruntled, you don't want them coming by your house. If you're a professional, you're an engineer, you're an attorney, you don't want a constable walking in.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's multiple reasons to use a registered agent service, and we provide that. And then the second thing is state compliance service. So every single state requires you check in with them on a regular basis. Some states it's just so they have so they know who are the active companies versus who are the dead companies. Okay. For other states, it's so they can collect tax revenue. So they know, they ask what your gross revenue was.
Is that the yearly filing that you have to do with the state? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And so like so many people just forget about it. I've forgotten about it a ton. I was actually in a company where we invested, my business partner and some family members and another friend, we invested in a company. We all put it into an LLC. We call it Funds Out LLC, FUNDS Out LLC. And we invested in a local startup in Austin. We invested $60,000 between four of us or six of us. And we started an LLC, we invested through that LLC, but then nobody filed the state compliance. So then we had a 9x return 5 years later. And so they were paying us back, and we couldn't open a bank account under that name because it wasn't active in the state of Texas. And the state of Texas said we owed them $5,000 or $6,000 a year because we didn't report what our gross revenue was, which was zero.
Right. Okay.
So we had to just fork it out. Yeah. Because we couldn't get the money back without doing that. Yeah. So it's one of those things. So yeah, those are our two subscriptions. Now we have thousands and thousands of people, 57%. So out of every 100 LLCs that are formed through us, 57 subscriptions are created. So we have a pretty good subscription pickup rate. We've got churn obviously, but we're right at the point now where if we just start breaking even with formations, we can run the company at profit on just the MRR. So we're right at that point. And so for us, it's just like, how many more businesses can we form? And so, we charge $2.99, but again, we're happy to break even. So we can either increase the volume on Google Ads and lose more money on Google Ads and Facebook and those things.
Right.
But what we've also started to do is we give every single one of our customers a coupon code or an affiliate link. And we say, hey, thanks for signing up. If you've got a friend or you've got another LLC you got to do or family member, whatever, give them this code. They will get $100 off. And because we already have your address, because, you gave it to
Right.
us, we
Right.
will fire off you $100 check. And so
Okay.
it's a grassroots way to save our customers money, help our existing customers make more money. And it's actually more profitable for us than paying a multi-billion-dollar company.
Yeah, that's amazing. So it's pretty expensive. It's a pretty expensive keyword on Google Ads.
Yeah, there's a lot of there's just a lot of competition. I mean, there are a
Okay.
few big companies. There's LegalZoom, there's InkFile, Swift Filings, Biz Filings, Ink Authority, and then there's just like dozens and dozens of like local
Right.
ones.
Correct.
And so it's just fighting in that realm. And so we're literally, I think, still the only company that is just like one price point. Like we don't have a bronze, silver, gold plan. It's just like one price. There's no confusion. We do
Mm-hmm.
upsell the subscriptions because those are optional. They are required by the state, but you can do it
Right.
yourself.
Right.
But those are our only two upsells that we really do. So yeah.
Then let's talk about so you started like, did you build the first version of BetterLegal yourself?
Yeah, it was literally Typeform, the
Okay.
Jekyll site,
Okay.
Typeform, Zapier, WebMerge, and Asana. That was the whole
Nice.
company,
Okay.
and I could rebuild it right now using those tools.
Right.
We're about, because Bubble is so badass, we're going to finally change our form for the first time in 6 years. Our form, we've been hobbling together with this form for 6 years, but we haven't found a better option without custom building it. But custom building, every time we custom build something, it just takes forever.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, I basically, I worked for a month to develop this form and the zaps that would all like take the information and then take all of the operators and owners of the company and like put them into an array and store them
Okay.
like this, and then put them into the document properly.
Right.
So I spent like a month building out exactly how it would work. But
In
it would like
Bubble.
it would just create a new task. And then my buddy would like see the task, and it would auto put the operating agreement, the legal document there. So all he would have to do is like file the state filing, the EIN filing, and then deliver all three things to the customer. So that's how
Okay.
you can just get started. It's just like you can use these things, you just get started. Um, and then I substituted. He was complaining that like people would make changes and he'd have to go in and manually make changes. So then we moved just from Asana to Salesforce. And so Salesforce was our
Oh, okay.
kind of like tool where you can like change the information and then still generate the legal document once you were happy with the information. But we always knew that we wanted a dashboard. We wanted people to be able to see their documents, store their documents, see their
Okay.
information, make changes to their information. And Salesforce was just prohibitively expensive. Like there was no
Yeah.
chance at all that we were going to be able to afford Salesforce to make a profit.
Right.
So that's when we went custom code, and we I planned way ahead. I wanted to make it, because if you make the wrong decisions early on in the foundation, you limit what you can do later. So it
Mm-hmm.
took a long time to like build out the foundation of the system. And then I had to use Zapier. I built like a Zap that would like migrate things from Salesforce
Right.
to
Okay.
the new
Yeah.
system. So then we had the new system set up. We used
So
that for
hang on.
years.
Did you hire contractors? Did you hire an agency to build a custom app, custom software?
Upwork. Every
Upwork.
single
Okay.
person that we have hired, not every person, but most people that we work with are from Upwork.
Okay. Okay. And do you think that you did a good job, like scoping your own project in order to build it in custom code? Because at the end, you went back to no code and low code. So what failed? Trying to
Yeah.
understand what
So it
failed.
just like, we had a really amazing system. Like I was
Okay.
really happy with what we built. And even if we didn't build any new features on it for years, it is, I still think, better than all of our competitors.
Okay.
Um, but we wanted to build more stuff, and it's just the maintenance, like it's a black box. You don't know what
Right.
things are doing.
Right.
And then all of a sudden one day, like the
You
dashboard
get a
doesn't
bill.
work.
Right.
The
Yeah.
dashboard isn't there. And you're like, what happened? And then it's like, oh, I had to restart this. Um, and, but then anytime we wanted to build something new, so you always kind of had to have developers around,
Yeah. Because
because if
things break
something
by
breaks,
themselves.
yeah, if something breaks, what do? You just
Right.
stop running the business. So you kind of
Right.
always have
Right.
to pay someone so they're around,
Mm-hmm.
for 20 hours a week. And so when something breaks, you can move from that. But
Yeah.
the straw that broke the camel's back was that we had a girl doing automation, Kate and I put together this referral system that I told you about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the way that we tracked it was just with a Google Sheet. And so we built this whole automation that just was managed through a Google Sheet, and we built it in like a week, and so it was like, uh, send this person a check, but if they're going to hit over $600, halt the check until the accountant puts an X in this column, because we've gotten a W-9 from them, from the
Yeah.
IRS, because we
Okay.
have to report that. Um, and it was just managed in a spreadsheet. But then we were starting to get so many people using it that they were like, wait, did I get paid for this one? Did I get paid for that one? Blah, blah, blah. So we wanted to, again, it was just we wanted to show visibility so they can log in and see all of the payments that they've made and match up and say, oh, I've gotten all my orders, or all
Right.
my,
Okay.
my affiliate payments.
Mm-hmm.
And so I budgeted a month to do that. And I was like, hey guys, here's what we've built. You just really need to duplicate the
Right.
functionality and put
With code. Right.
with code, and give us a screen. And here's the mock-up we created. Here's
Okay.
in Figma the mock-up that was created. It took 5 months.
And why was that?
And it wasn't even like launched. It was launched kind of in beta. Part of it, they told me it was because we still gave them other things. The first month they had dedicated total to themselves to do it. We didn't bother them with other things. But then obviously other things came up, and we had to get
Okay.
this done. We had to get that,
Okay.
this, whatever. They're like, well, with scope creep and da da da. I was like, no,
Mm-hmm.
there was no scope creep. I do understand that there was other things, but like you
This is the scope.
over-engineered it.
Right. Right.
You
Right.
over-engineered
Okay.
it. And so a half a year of our, 2.5, or I would say 1.5, we had one full-time 40 hours a week front-end developer, and one 20 hours a week front-end developer, and then one 20 hours a week product manager.
Okay.
And it took 5 months to get that done.
Okay.
And we were paying them $8,000 a month.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
so after my January, like, build sell 30, build bubble myself thing, I was like, wait a minute.
Tell us a
I
little
could,
bit
I
more
could,
about the build sale 30, because not everyone knows about that.
yeah. So Eric,
Eric from Flywheel, we've had him in the podcast.
yeah. So he tweeted out randomly. I was on a surf trip in Costa Rica, and he randomly tweeted like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if people did this, like, they have to build and sell to customers in 30 days. And I was like, absolutely. How do I get involved? Blah, blah, blah. And so,
Okay.
so many people got on that train that he actually decided to do it. And I reached out to him, and I was like, hey, I'd like to sponsor it.
Okay.
And so through another company that I have called The Masonry. The Masonry is basically like a company, it's themasonry.com. The Masonry is a company that I build things that I need them for BetterLegal, but they don't exist. So I build them over here because I need them for BetterLegal, but I also know that it doesn't make sense for BetterLegal them just to exist in BetterLegal. I want to sell them to other people and provide it to other people. And so it's kind of my skunkworks lab, if you will.
Your studio, right? Okay.
Yeah. And so we sponsored it, and
so up until that point, you hadn't spent a lot of time with Bubble yet.
I spent 0 time with Bubble.
Okay.
And so what I did was I bought Kieran, No Code Life. I bought his Bubble course.
Okay.
And the first thing that Pablo's first thing said was take the Bubble 12 lesson interactive thing. I was like, why am I paying you to take the Bubble thing? But the 12 lesson, anytime anybody asks me about Bubble, I send them bubble.com /lessons or bubble.io /lessons. and it's like a 12 mini apps that you build, and you build them in like 45 minutes total. And it like
Okay.
shows you like everything that you can do with Bubble and how you like can immediately start messing with Google Maps, and you can immediately start messing with Spotify and all this stuff. And I was like hooked. I was like, okay, cool. So then I watched the rest of, Pablo and Kieran's Bubble Crash Course, and I listened to it on like 1.5x or 1.75 speed, because like I've got experience with development. I just didn't know how things work. Where does this go? How do you do this? How do you do that? And so I spent 10 hours on that thing, and I was like immediately like, all right, we can do this. And so I built my own app called Trade Beacons. It's just like an investment, like SEC filing website that I built myself on like some live streams and stuff. But I was like, that's it. We're like, after looking at, then I went on Upwork and looked at like how much development was costing. And at this time, we weren't profitable. We were starting to get close to profitability.
Okay.
But like we were running out of money as a company. The investors were like, we're not putting in anymore. And so it was like, we need to do spring cleaning. We need to, so like, I was like, it's time to go profitable. And we got to get rid of these developers that it just costs too much money. And they're great guys, but it just didn't work. We're not developing a bunch of crazy stuff. Bubble perfectly serves our purpose to build a dashboard and let people log into it. We don't need 5 months of development and tens of thousands of dollars to accomplish that. And so yeah, we've been building. We're not done yet. But the first month, after 2 weeks, I was like, we're going to be done in a month. I originally said it was going to take 60 days.
Okay.
In the first 2 weeks, I was like, we're going to get this done in the month. But then it's like, you get a lot of the stuff done, but like there's so, after 6 years, I counted the other day, we had 273 active zaps in our account.
Okay. That's a lot of zaps.
And so that's a lot of stuff. We've got 250,000 items. We just have all of these things that happen automatically. So we're almost done. We really could have pulled the trigger at the end of March, but we're doing extra stuff. I want to make sure it's like pixel perfect, and that our sales are going up right now. And I really am kind of timid to like mess with that. I don't want people to. It's whatever we got right now is working. I want to make sure it's as close as possible. And then just making sure all the data flows back and forth properly. Because we actually have to run both systems in parallel, because again, 273 zaps are pointing to the old system. And so we're going to have to like, just right now we run a nightly sync. So like, we use the Masonry's flow product, which is basically like code in a window automatically hooked to a webhook and an authorization token. So you can just put a bunch of Python or JavaScript code in there, and then link it up to Bubble or Integromat or Zapier or whatever. And so we've got a nightly run that basically takes all of our old app and syncs it into the Bubble app automatically. So right now I'm trying to figure out how to make it work kind of live, so we can run both in tandem, so the ops team can like log into one or the other or both. So anytime someone like changes a status update or anything like that, like it'll run to Zapier or Integromat and change both at the same time.
Update the Bubble app. Right.
Yeah. And then we'll start kind of moving fully over to Bubble. But
so that's taken a couple. Are you building the Bubble app yourself?
We've also been doing like that 5-month partner dashboard I was telling you about. We built that in like 3 days. We have that done, and it's done in 3 days. And so we've also gone a little further, and we're like, you know what? One of the big complaints with our ops team is that they're in the app, on our app, and then they're in Asana, and they're back and forth and back and forth. So like, well, why don't we just recreate Asana within our system? We can have a task management system in our app. And so we're doing that now. And so we can show more visibility to our customers about what's going on with something. So when they log into their dashboard, they can actually see the task of the filing that's going on, and see the communication that's going on, and just provide more
the internal work that you're doing. They can look at that.
Yeah, no. So cool. I'm not doing it myself. We're using a company called Productivity Suite that is helping do that. And it's basically kind of like a SaaS tool plus like a retainer development thing. So we're still paying development, but it's like much less expensive. We're paying a flat
Okay.
fee every month to use kind of this like dashboard template that we're
For Bubble.
customizing. Yeah, that's in Bubble.
That's in Bubble. Okay.
And so yeah, we've still got some development stuff, but it's gonna work out phenomenally. And we've already like, we needed some certain things like we like with Stripe checkout, for example, we've got a unique process where on the payment page we have a one-time fee and an optional subscription fee, and so there was no way to do that. But then so once you buy, then we take you through a couple more steps where we ask you some more information, and then we land you on a final confirm and file page that shows you these other optional subscriptions.
The upsells, right?
And so then you need to be able to upsell yourself as well.
Yeah.
And so there was no way to like carry that forward, and then so there was no system that did that. And so we, under the Masonry, created a new Stripe plugin. And so we're just going to make that open for people to use. We got to tighten it up a little bit and make it pretty. But that's just going to be like a free tool that we provide people. We also had this in activities, we have these like custom fields. So like every year this is how we collect information from clients. So every year with the state compliance, we have this kind of calendar of like Texas for everybody, it's May 15th. For Nebraska, it's the last day of the month on the anniversary of the formation. In this state, it's the last day of the quarter of the month before your anniversary. In this state, so they've got all these random dates and when your due dates are.
50 different projects, right?
So as we're coming up for the new year, we run a script and it just creates an activity on everybody's thing for like state compliance 2022. This is the due date. This is the customer ID. This is the card on file. Blah, blah, blah. This is how much the filing fee is going to be. Da, 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 da. And then we already know what additional questions are going to ask. So Texas is going to ask what your gross revenue is. And so we auto drop these custom fields on this little activity. And then each activity has its own little link. So then we fire an email out to customers and say like, hey, state compliance is due. You're paying us for state compliance. Here's the link to the activity that shows all the information about this. There you will see empty fields. We need you to fill those in.
Yeah. Okay.
So we were doing that with like data types and fields, and the way that we did it on the old system was we actually just stored it in a big JSON blob, and we just decided to do that again. So we created another plugin that basically is like a JSON write reader, so you can just have a blob of JSON in a text field, but that is also editable via the dashboard. So we've got a very elegant little system. So that's just going to be another little plugin that we provide people.
So, I mean, that's really amazing. You really became like very proficient with Bubble pretty fast. Now, like building plugins that you're going to provide or sell for the community building on top of Bubble. So not only building your own product, but also building like Bubble products or plugins for Bubble. That's
amazing. And like with the Masonry, what I really want to do, like if anybody's familiar with like Unreal Engine and Epic Games, they've got a developer community that I'm looking at as like the beacon of like what I'd like the Masonry to be, where it's like they have products that they sell, which is the Unreal Engine. But in the same site, there's like forums, there's links to YouTube videos, there's articles, there's interviews, there's links to podcasts, and there's code snippets, like where you can literally see an abstract of like, oh, this is what this does. And you can like paste the code directly into your project. I think it would be super cool for people to be able to say like, because like one thing that I needed that I copied off of GitHub was I needed a script that just converted a full state to a two-letter code. So Texas to TX, New Hampshire to NH. And I was like, oh, I've got to write this code. And I searched for it and I was like, oh, this guy just had it for free on GitHub. He's like, pay. So what I had to do was I had to take it and I had to put it into a Python code step. but I had to do it in like 5 different places. But then I need to make a
Yeah.
change. Now, which zaps were those in, and how do I
Mm.
change them? And so what the Masonry's flow does is it's like a little hosted text editor. And so instead of putting it hard coded into Zapier
Yeah.
or even
Okay.
Integromat, where you can't even put code in
Right.
Integromat,
Right.
you can put it into this little window, JavaScript in Python, and determine the inputs and the outputs. And it gives you a little a webhook and your authorization code. So
Okay.
now instead of having it hidden all in Zapier or whatever, and
In
if I
20
want
different
to
apps,
edit
you
it,
just did
if
it
I
in
want
one
to
place.
edit it
Right.
in one place, I can edit it there, and so I can just call it via webhook in
Mm-hmm.
Zapier, and it works
Right.
perfectly. But then
Right.
also I can provide it to other people for free, or for a monthly
Yeah.
subscription, or
Mm.
per use. So like we've
Right.
got things like a name parser. Zapier is now worth I think $4 billion now, but you physically can't take a full name and parse out the first name and the last name and
Right.
the middle name and the suffix using a formatter step that they've got. Like it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
exist. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and nobody in the community can do it. Nobody who is a Zapier user can say, I've made this for everybody. Here,
Right.
plug it in. Like it's got to be an official thing. And so this is a way for people to create a community of things that they need and they can give and share. But I also very strongly believe that all these people that do things and build things that are very useful, low code. If I develop a script that's super useful, or you develop a script that's super useful, you should be able to monetize it. And you shouldn't have to give it away for free and put it on a
Right.
forum and say, hey, it's free. You can say, hey, I've developed this script. I'm not going to let you see it. I'm not going to let you see the code, but here's like what it
Here's how
does.
it
And you can
works.
give
It's
you can
whatever
give
price a month.
inputs and
Right.
outputs. And the Mason rule makes sure that it's not sending to any nefarious saving anywhere weird or whatever. That we'll take that responsibility. Um, and you can just say, I want to use this. And we say, here are your inputs and here are the outputs you're going to get. And you can
Yeah.
use it for free in the marketplace, or you can pay for it or whatever. So I think that more people need to monetize. I call it the Gumroad for code.
Yeah. Right. No, that makes a lot of sense. There's a huge opportunity there because there are so many things that everybody's building for their own apps
Yeah.
that you could just call like a service like yours and then save a couple hours of development
Which is like the whole
pretty
point of
straightforward.
Bubble to begin with.
Yeah, exactly.
Is like, I don't need to figure out how to create a sign up,
Login page. Right,
login, forgot
exactly. Mm-hmm.
password. I don't need to figure that out because it's the same. It's been the same for
Yeah,
the last 40
yeah,
years. So
yeah, yeah. What do you say? It's pretty cool that you've built this large business with no code tools. What do you say to people? Oh, and we see that in Twitter all the time. That says, or mostly developers that say that no code doesn't scale. Do you agree with that? At a certain, do you think that eventually BetterLegal will grow faster than Bubble, and then you'll need to move back to code? In my
no.
experience, I always tell clients these no code tools are evolving and becoming larger so quickly. Like they're moving way faster than you are. So
Yeah.
no matter
That's
how
like saying
fast
that.
you grow your business, they'll
Yeah.
they'll outgrow you.
I don't believe that at all, because also Bubble is not a one-stop shop. It can be. It can be a place where you build the front and the back end and you do everything. But then if you decide you want to migrate the back end to another tool, you can do that, and then it can just be your front end.
Mm-hmm.
And I it I think it's developers who everybody that I talk to that says that is a developer who is like a hand coder bespoke. That's like saying that's like someone that's like a Luddite saying, don't use these looms. We'll make these rugs ourselves. And like, because we can show that it's work and like we're
Right.
providing a service and blah, blah, blah. While there's a warehouse of like 50 machines, like pumping out, a rug an hour. It's
Mm-hmm.
just that
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it's just, you know, just because you can code in like ones and zeros in assembly, are you going to do that? Or are you going to
Right.
use Python or JavaScript? And just because you know JavaScript, is that going to prevent you from using React or Next or Flask or Django. No,
Hmm.
there's
Hmm.
always another easier. There's like it's like a mountain that gets built. So there's like
Right.
there's the ones and zeros. There's assembly language, and then there's the next level that Fortran and C, and then there's Python, and then there's Django, and so now it's what runs Bubble? Probably those
Code. Right.
tools,
Zeros and ones at the end. Right.
right?
Exactly.
So how is someone going to say that you can't do that? It's also like I look at where we are right now as the equivalent to where agriculture was like 100 years ago in the United States. It's like 90% of people had to like grow their own food. And so like we have to find these developers. You have to code it yourself. Um, and then like once they had the proper tools, they had the plow, they had machines, they had uh, all of these machines that they built themselves. One person on one farm built something, and another person on the other farm was like, "That's amazing! Can I have that?" And then that person, instead of being a farmer anymore, started making more of these machines and selling to all the farmers. And then another one
Right.
made one, and then another one improved on that, and then someone improved the transportation. And so that's where we are right now. Is we're like
And
figuring
everybody
out,
got better because of that. Both the
yeah,
farmers and the machine builders. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So like we're going to get better tools and more, and it's almost I should say it's like the inverse of agriculture. It's like everybody used to grow their own food, and now a very small percentage of the population grows all the food. Right now, a very small percentage of people know how to code
Right.
because it's just too difficult. It's
Right.
too time consuming. If everybody was a coder right now, nothing else would get done. We'd all starve because no one would be able to do literally anything else.
Right.
So now that everybody can code, I mean, what is Excel other than a visual programming language?
Hmm.
How
Absolutely.
many
Yeah.
people are power Excel users,
Hmm.
and that once they figure out Bubble and Adalo and Glide or like whatever's next after that, or something that works better for their very specific need, like they're going to pick that up. They're going to build their own stuff. I think, companies like Salesforce and Asana should be the ones that are scared, because they're
Yeah.
the ones that make a very specific tool that it's like, this is what you should use for everything. And if you want it to
Hmm.
be changed, you need to hire these very expensive people to customize it for you. And then you're not allowed to get off of our system because you're too deep into it. And there's no way you could ever get off of it. Now, we're going to have people that are like very good and have very deep knowledge about a very specific topic, and they're gonna be like, God, I really wish there was an app that did this, like a cattle rancher, or uh, someone who's into algae. I don't know,
Hmm.
like any
Hmm. Super niche.
um,
Super niche. Right.
super niche stuff that it doesn't make sense to have. That's how Bubble started to begin with. If you look at the founder's story, it's because the guy was hired by a photographer that did like some kind of like storage, like coding and storage for uploading to like Getty Images or something like that. And he was
Hmm.
like, it's a very good product that I developed, but my expense, it costs too much to have me as a developer full time. But if he was able to build his own app, he could have made a very healthy living
Yeah.
off of the
Yeah.
app, because there were enough customers that needed what he provided, because he needed it, to make money on it and make it a profitable company. But once you start adding more people and development and DevOps and HR and blah blah blah, everything that a developer is going to need to sustain, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. The
So we're
market
just going to
doesn't
see this
work. Right.
explosion of apps that are super niche.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it's better for everybody globally,
Yeah.
because you're going to have more products that do exactly what you need. They're going to cost less because they're not being held up by this huge operational expense. And you're just going to have more people that are millionaires. You're going to have more millionaires and less billionaires. And why was that bad?
Right. Exactly. And businesses will have better software that fixes their pains in a better way than having to
Right.
use Salesforce for everything when it doesn't make sense.
Right.
Cool. Chad, where can people find more about you and your company?
Yeah. So Twitter is where I live. Actually, like live inside of Twitter. So twitter.com/CSAKON. That's C, S as in Sam, AKON as in Nancy. DM me. I'm always happy to chat with people. Some of the people that I've hired to help me with this conversion and to help me build tools are people that reached out to me on Twitter. So
Cool.
like Twitter is an amazing community. So like, don't be shy, say hi, or just start tweeting and reply to my tweets, like them, whatever.
Awesome. That's great. Thanks so much for being here, Chad.
Yeah, thank you.